Dear students, we will continue on our module 4 Advances in Digital Image Processing. In today's class, we will cover color transformations, smoothing and sharpening, and color segmentation. The different techniques described in this particular section, it is put together and it is called as the color transformations. These color transformations deals with how we are going to process the components of a color image within the context of a single color model as opposed to how we were doing previously between the models, that is RGB to HSI and HSI to RGB conversion transformations of the previous topics. Like the intensity transformation techniques what we had used previously, we can model the color transformation by making use of the expression g of xy is equal to t of f of xy, where f of xy is the color input image, g of xy is the transformed or the processed color output image, and t is an operator on f over a spatial neighborhood of xy. The principal difference between the previous equation and this particular equation is its interpretation. The pixel values here are triplets or quartets, that is a group of 3 or 4 values from the color space what is chosen to represent the images. Similar to the approach what we had used for introducing the basic intensity transformation previously, now we are going to restrict our attention to color transformation, which is of the form Si is equal to Ti R1 R2 up till Rn, where I is equal to 1 to n, where for simplicity we are going to make use of Ri and Si to be the variables which are denoting the color components of f of xy and g of xy. That means we are having f of xy as the input and g of xy as the output at any given point xy. N is the number of color components and the capital T1, T2 up till T1, it is the set of transformation or color mapping functions that are going to operate on Ri to produce Si. So N transformations and Ti, which is going to combine to implement the single transformation function T, like in the equation 651. The color space what is chosen to describe the pixels of f and g, it is determining the value of n. If the RGB color space is selected, that means if n is equal to 3 and R1, R2 and R3 denote the red, green and blue components of the input image respectively. If the CMYK or the HSI color spaces are chosen, then n will be equal to 4 or n is equal to 3. Here we can see a full color image and its various color space components. The full color image which is present in this figure shows a high resolution color image of a bowl of strawberries and a cup of coffee that was digitized from a large format, that is from a 4" by 5" color negative. Here the row of figures which is consisting of the cyan, magenta, yellow and the black, these figures contain the components of the initial CMYK scan. In these images, the black represents the 0 and white represents 1 in each CMYK color component. Thus we see that the strawberries are composed of large amounts of magenta and yellow because the images correspond to these two CMYK components are the brightest. Black is used sparingly and is generally confined into the coffee and the shadows within the bowl of strawberries. When the CMYK image is converted to RGB, as shown here, the strawberries are seen to contain a large amount of red and very little green and blue, as is evident from the row which is consisting of the red, green and blue. In this image also we can see a full color image and its various color space components with respect to the red, green, blue, hue, saturation and the intensity. The hue, saturation and intensity are considered when we are going to consider the HSI color module, and the red, green and blue are considered when we go for the RGB color model. The last row of this picture shows the HSI components of the full color image, which is computed by making use of the equations previously what we have discussed. As expected, here the intensity component is a monochrome rendition of the full color original. In addition, the strawberries are relatively pure in color. They possess the highest saturation or least dilution by white light of ray at any hue of the image. Finally, we can see that some difficulty is in interpreting the hue component. The problem is again compounded by the fact that there is a discontinuity in the HSI model where 0 degree and 360 degree are going to meet, and the hue is undefined for saturation of 0, that is for the white, black and pure grays. The discontinuity of the model is most apparent whenever we are having the strawberries which are depicted in the gray level values near the black and the white. The result is an unexpected mixture of highly contrasting gray levels which will represent a single color, that is the red color. Any of the color space components which is in the previous picture can be used in conjunction with the equation what we have discussed about the Ti and the Si. In theory, any transformation can be performed in any color model, but in practice, only some operations are better suited for specific models. For a given transformation, the cost of converting between representations must be factored into the decision regarding the color space in which we are going to implement it. Say suppose I want to go for modifying the intensity of the full color image in figure by making use of the equation g of xy is equal to k f x of y, where k is varying between 0 and 1. In the HSI color space, this can be done with a simple transformation where we have the S3 is equal to KR3, where S1 is equal to R1 and S2 is equal to R2. Only the HSI intensity component R3 is modified. In the RGB color space, three components must be transformed. Si is equal to KRI, where I is equal to 1, 2, 3, that is red, green and blue. The CM5 space, it is going to require a similar set of linear transformations, that is Si is equal to KRI plus 1 minus K, where I is equal to 1, 2 or 3. Though the HSI transformation, it is involving less number of operations, whenever we are going for computations to convert one RGB or CMYK image to the HSI model, it is going to remove the advantages, that is the calculations are going to be more complex. Anyhow, if we apply any method also, the output will be same. In the next picture, we are going to see how the application of any transformations is going to change the full color image of the previous figure, that is figure 6.30, when we use the K value as 0.7. The mapping functions, they are depicted here graphically so that we will understand the conversion very clearly. The mapping functions are given as C, D and E. Here we are having the image and how it is getting adjusted for change in intensity. The figure A, it is the original image, and B is the result of decreasing its intensity by 30%. That means we are taking here the value to be as K is equal to 0.7. The images C, D and E, it is going to give us the RGB, CMY and HSI transformation functions. Here you can note that every transformation what is going to be defined in the equation 6.54, 6.55 and 6.56, they are going to depend only on one component within its color space. For example, the red output component S1 in equation 6.55, it is independent of the green and the blue input. It depends only on the red input. The transformation of this type, they are very simple and they are very commonly used in the color processing tools, and it can be carried out on a per color component basis, as it was discussed in the previous section. In the remainder of this section, we will see how we can going for many transformations, and we are going to discuss a case in which the component transformation functions, they are dependent on all the color components of the input image and therefore cannot be done on an individual color component basis. This picture over here shows the color complements on the color circle. The hues which are directly opposite to one another on the color circle, they are called as the complements. You can see here the cyan is the complement of the red, the green is the complement of the magenta, blue is the complement of the yellow color. So what we have to observe from here is the grayscale negatives, what we had discussed previously, it is same as what we have here, that is the color complements what we are having. As in the grayscale case, the color complements are useful for enhancing the details. That means in a picture when we are having the dark regions and all, so they can be enhanced, particularly when the regions are very dominant in size. That means we have one particular color very dominant, so we can go for enhancing the image in this particular format. In the next slide, in the picture 6.33a, 6.33b and 6.33c, they show the full color image from the figure 6.30 and its color complements. The RGB transformations, they are used to compute the complement which are plotted in the figure 6.33b. You can see the picture here which is having the complementary colors, they are being drawn. They are identical to the grayscale negative transformations which were defined previously. Note the computed complement is similar to the photographic color images or the photographic color negatives what we had. Reds of the original image, they are replaced by the cyans in the complement, and when the original image is black, the complement is white. It continues. Each of the hues in the complement image, they can be predicted from the original image by making use of the color circle which is given in figure over here. And each of the RGB component transforms, they are involved in the computation of the complement, which is a function of only the corresponding input color components. In this picture we can see the color complement transformations. The picture A is the original image, and in the picture B we have the complement transformation functions. The first one is the RGB color component complement transformation function, where we can see the color transformation is negative, and then for the H we have the complement given for the S as well as for the I also. And in the figure C we can see it is the complement of the picture A, which is based on the RGB mapping functions, and the picture D, it is an approximation of the RGB complement by using the HSI transformations. Now we will see about the color slicing. The color slicing is highlighting a specific range of colors in an image which is useful for separating the objects from their surroundings, so that we can make out the difference between the color and its surroundings, or we can tell one part of the image from another part of the image. So the idea here is we have to display the colors of interest so that they are going to stand out from the background. We can easily differentiate from the background, or we can use the region defined by the color as a mask for further processing. So the straightforward approach, what we have discussed previously, and that we are going to simplify now. Because a color pixel is a n-dimensional quantity and the resulting color transformation functions are more complicated than their gray level counterparts. So the required transformations are more complex than the color component transforms which we are considering so far. The transformations are much more complex what were considered previously. The reason is all practical color slicing approaches, they are going to require each pixel's transformed color components to be a function of all n original pixels color components. So what we can do is we can go for slicing a color image so that it is going to map to the color outside some interest, that is some region of interest, to a non-prominent neutral color. If the colors of interest, they are enclosed by a cube, so we will consider one hypercube for n greater than 3 of width w, and which is going to be centered at the color with components a1, a2 up till an. Then the necessary set of transformations can be written. So these transformations can be written as Si it is equal to 0.5 if Rj minus Aj if it is greater than W by 2, or Si is equal to R of I if it is not Rj minus Ai which is greater than W by 2, where I is equal to 1 to n. These transformations here, they are highlighting the colors around the prototype by forcing all other colors to the midpoint of the reference color space. So we are choosing one arbitrarily neutral point. So for the RGB color space, a suitable neutral point is gray color. That is when we have the R, G and B as 0.5, 0.5 and 0.5. If a sphere is used to specify the colors of interest, then the previous equation, that is the equation 6.57, it is going to become Si is equal to 0.5 or it is equal to Ri. It is equal to 0.5 when we go for the summation of all the Rj minus Aj square, it should be greater than R0 square, or it is equal to Si is equal to Ri, where again I is ranging from 1 to n. Here R0 is the radius of the sphere, that is the hypersphere for n greater than 3, and A1 up till An are the components of its center, that is the prototypical color. Other useful variations of these two equations, that is 5.7 and 5.8, they are going to include the implementation of the multiple color prototypes and reducing the intensity of the colors outside the region of interest, rather than setting them to a neutral constant. Now we will talk about the tone and the color corrections. Color transformations can be performed on most of the computers. When we combine the computers with the digital cameras, the flatbed scanners and the inkjet printers, they are going to turn the computer even more stronger, like it will become a digital darkroom. It will become like a studio where we are developing the photos, and it is going to allow the tonal adjustments and also corrections. So the main advantage of this is the high-end color reproduction systems which should be performed without the need for the traditionally outfitted wet processing. That means instead of making use of an actual studio, we can do that on a computer. Although the tone and the color corrections are useful in the areas of imaging, in our discussion we are more bothered about how we can enhance the photos or how we can go for reproducing multiple colors on a photo. Whether the approach we are using is correct or not, it will be ultimately judged by when we go for seeing a picture on print. Because these transformations are developed, refined, and evaluated on the monitors, it is very important to maintain a high degree of color consistency between the monitors used and the eventual output devices. The colors of the monitor should represent accurately any digitally scanned source images as well as the final printed output. We can accomplish this by making use of a device independent color model that relates the color gamuts of the monitors and the output devices as well as any other device which is being used to one another. So if this approach is successful or not, we can find out by the function of the quality of the color profiles which are used to map each device to the model and how the model is there. The model of choice for many color management systems, it is the CIE's LAB model, which is also called as CIE LAB Robertson model. The LAB color components are used here. The LAB color components, they are given by the following equations 659, 6510 and 6511, where this HQ it is equal to cube root of Q, or it can be 7.787 Q plus 16 by 116, where this XW, YW and ZW, they are the reference White's tri-stimulus values, that is the white of a perfectly reflecting diffuser under the CIE standard D65 illumination model. The LAB color space is calorimetric. That means the colors are perceived here as matching identically and perceptually uniform. That is, the color differences among the various hues are perceived uniform, and then they are device independent. That means whichever may be the device, it will not matter. The device can be a monitor one or it can be another monitor. It will be same for both the devices. While not directly displayable format, its gamut it is encompassing the entire visible spectrum, and it can represent all the colors of the display, print or input device. Like the HSI system, the LAB system is an excellent decoupler of intensity. That means it is going to representing by the lightness L star and the color that is represented by A star for red minus green and B star for green minus blue, making it useful in both image manipulations and image compression applications. The principal benefit of this calibrated imaging system is that they are going to allow the tonal and the color imbalances to be corrected interactively and independently. That is, in two sequential operations, one for corrections which is done interactively, one more for the corrections which is done independently. Both color irregularities like the over and the undersaturated colors, they are resolved by making use of the problems which are going to be involved the image tonal images and as well as the other type of images. The tonal range of the image, which is also called as the key type, it is referred to its general distribution of color intensities. Most of the information in the high key images, it is concentrated at the high intensities. The colors of the low key images, they are predominantly at low intensities. The middle key images, they are going to lie in between, and then as in the monochrome case, it is often good to see that it will be distributing the intensities of the color image equally between the highlights and the shadows. The histogram processing. Unlike the previous enhancement approaches what we have seen, the gray level histogram processing transformation can be applied to color images in an automated way. So the histogram equalization, we know that it is going to determine a transformation which is going to produce an image with a uniform histogram of intensity values. So in the case of a monochrome image, so we can see that it was reasonably successful of handling low, high and middle key images. Since color images are composed of multiple components, so we have to consider that adapting the grayscale technique to more than one color component, and it has to be then going for a histogram. As we will see that generally it is not good to go for a histogram equalization, which is having the components of a color images independently. Why? Because this is going to result in a error. A more better approach is we have to spread the color intensities uniformly, and then we are going to leave the colors unchanged. So in the next picture we are going to see how the HSI color space is very much suited for this type of approach. This figure shows a color image of a caster stand containing cruets and shakers whose intensity component spans the entire range of possible values from 0 to 1. As can be seen in the histogram of its intensity component prior to processing, the image is containing a large number of dark colors that are reduced because of the median intensity 0.36. Histogram equalizing the intensity component without altering the hue and the saturation, it is going to result in the image what is shown in figure 6.37c. Note that the overall image is significantly brighter and that several moldings and the grain of the wooden table on which the caster is sitting are now visible. Figure 6.37b shows the intensity histogram of the new image as well as the intensity transformation used to equalize the intensity component of the previous equation. Although the intensity equalization process does not alter the value of the hue and saturation of the image, it is impacting the overall color perception. Smoothing and sharpening. This is the transformation what we are going to apply on a color image, so that we are going to modify an image based on the characteristics of the surrounding pixels. Now we will see the basics of this, how we can go for modifying of the neighborhood processing within the context of the color image smoothing and sharpening. We know from our previous discussion that the grayscale image smoothing can be seen as a spatial filtering operation in which the coefficients of the filtering mask will be having the same value. As this mask is moved across the image, which has to be smooth, we can see that each pixel is replaced by the average of the pixels in the neighborhood, which is defined by the mask. So as we have seen here, the concept is easily extended to the processing of full color images. The main difference is, instead of scalar intensity values, we must deal with the component vectors which are of the form which is given in the equation 6.4.2. Let S of xy denote the set of coordinates which are defining one neighborhood, and this neighborhood, it is centered at one pixel xy in a RGB color image. The average of the RGB component vector in this neighborhood, it is given by c dash of xy, which is equal to 1 by k summation of c of s comma t, where s of t is belonging to s of xy. So from the previous equations we can see that the properties of the vector addition is, where we are going to have the c dash of xy, it is given by the r component, g component and the b component. So these are the scalar components of the vector that can be obtained independently by smoothing each plane of the starting RGB image by using the conventional grayscale neighborhood processing. So we can conclude that the smoothing of the neighborhood averaging can be carried out on a per color plane basis. The result is the same as when we are going for averaging. So when we are averaging or when we go for carrying out this particular operation, it is the same thing if we are using the RGB color vectors. The smoothed color image, it is shown in the figure B here. It is similar to the figure A, but as you can see from the difference image that is in the figure C, the two smoothed images are not identical. This is because in the figure A, the color of each pixel is the average color of the pixels in the neighborhood. On the other hand, by smoothing only the intensity component image, which is in the figure B, the hue and the saturation of each pixel was not affected, and therefore the pixel colors did not change. It follows from this observation that the difference between two smoothing approaches would become more pronounced as a function of increasing the filter size. Now we will see the color image sharpening. Here we are going to make use of the Laplacian. From the vector analysis, we have seen that the Laplacian of a vector is a vector whose components are equal to the Laplacian of the individual scalar components of the input vector. If we consider the RGB color system, the Laplacian of the vector C in equation 6.4.2, it can be got as the gradient square of C of x comma y, which as in the previous section, it is telling us we can compute the Laplacian of a full color image by computing the Laplacian of each component image separately. This figure A, it is obtained by using the previous equation 3.67 and the mask which is in the figure 3.37c to compute the Laplacians of the RGB color components which is in the figure 6.38. These results were combined to produce a sharpened full color result. In the B, we have seen that a sharpened image which is based on the HSI component of the figure 6.39. This result was generated by combining the Laplacian of the intensity component with the unchanged hue and the saturation components. The difference between the RGB and the HSI sharpened images, it is shown in the figure C. Now we will see the image segmentation which is based on color. Segmentation, we know that it is one process which is going to divide an image into multiple regions. So here we are going to consider the color segmentation. The color segmentation here is for the sake of continuity. If we want to segment an image based on the color and then we want to see how the process will be carried out on individual planes, then we have to think about the HSI space because the color is conveniently represented in the hue in an image. So typically the saturation is used as a masking image in order to isolate any regions of interest in the hue image. The intensity image, it is used less frequently for segmentation of the color images because it is carrying no color information. This is how the segmentation is going to happen in the HSI color space. Now we will see the segmentation in the RGB vector space. So we have seen numerous times how we can go for working in the HSI space. It is more intuitive. Segmentation is one area in which the better results are generally obtained by using the RGB color vectors. Why? Because this approach is very straightforward. Suppose that the objective here is to segment the objects of a specified color image in an RGB image. So then what we do, if we are having a sample color points representative of the colors of the interest, we can obtain the estimate of the average color that we want to segment. Let this average color be denoted as A in the RGB vector. The objective of segmentation, it is to classify each RGB pixel in a given image as having a color in the specified range or not. In order to perform this comparison, it is necessary to have one measure of similarity. One of the simplest way how we can do about this is we have to go for the Euclidean distance. Let us say the small z is going to denote one arbitrary point in the RGB space. We say that the z is similar to a if the distance between them is less than a specified threshold d naught. The Euclidean distance between the z and a, it is given by this equation d of za, which is equal to z minus a, where the z minus a can be more simplified as with respect to the RGB components. Here the subscripts RGB, they are going to denote the RGB components of the vectors a and z. The locus of the points such that d of za is less than or equal to d naught is a solid sphere which is of radius d naught. Points which are contained within the sphere, they are going to satisfy the specified color criteria, and the points outside the sphere, they are not going to satisfy the given color criteria. Coding these two sets of points in the image with, say, the black and the white color, it is going to produce a binary segmented image. A useful generalization of this equation, the previous equation of d of za, which is equal to z minus a, it is a distance measure of the form d of za is equal to z minus a to the power of t c inverse z minus a, the whole thing to the power of 1 by 2. Where here the capital C, it is called as the covariance matrix. The covariance matrix is a set of vector samples and which is represented by the color what we want to segment. The locus of the points such that d of za, it is less than or equal to d naught, it is describing a solid 3D elliptical body with the important property that its principal axes are oriented in the direction of the maximum data spread. When C is equal to I, that means when the covariance matrix is same as the intensity, then the 3x3 identity matrix, it is going to reduce to a simpler one of type 6.7.1. The segmentation, it will be described in the next. The distances are positive and they are monotonic. That means they are increasing very slowly. Then we can go for the distance square instead of going for a square root complications, because the square root requires more number of computations. However, when we are going to implement, this is more expensive for the images which are of big size, even if the square roots are not calculated. How we can go for a easier way is we can make use of a bounding box. In this approach, the box is centered on A and its dimensions along each of the color axes is chosen proportional to the standard deviation of the samples along each of the axes. Computation of the standard deviation is done only once by making use of the sample color data. Given any random point, any random color point, we can segment the color image by determining whether or not it is on the surface or whether it is inside the box by making use of the distance calculations. However, whenever we are determining whether a color point is inside a box or outside a box, this particular approach is very much simple than when we go for a comparing to a spherical or a elliptical enclosure. Now we will see the color edge detection. The edge detection is very important tool for the image segmentation. So here we are interested in the issue of the computing the edges on an individual image basis versus computing the edges directly in the color vector space. Edge detection by the gradient operators was previously introduced. This was also done with the image sharpening. But the gradient discussed previously, it is not defined for the vector quantities. So we know that the computing the gradient on individual images and then using that result to form a color image will be leading to wrong answers. So now we have to overcome the problem where we are having the gradient defined in terms of the magnitude and the direction of the vector c as in the previous equation for any given point x comma y. So the gradient what we have studied is applicable for a scalar function f of x comma y. It is not applicable to vector functions. So we are going to go for a ways in which we can extend this concept of a gradient to vector functions. By knowing that the scalar function f of xy, the gradient is a vector pointing in the direction of the maximum rate of change of f at the coordinates x comma y. Let r, g, b be unit vectors along the r, g and b axis of the RGB color space. We can define the vectors u and v based on the differentiation of the r, differentiation of g and the differentiation of b with respect to the x. And then another vector called as the v can be defined as the differentiation of r, g and b with respect to the y-axis. Let the quantities gxx, gyy and gxy be defined in terms of the dot product of these vectors. So gxx is given by u into u, gyy is given by v into v, gxy is given by u into v. We can see that u into u can also be written as u to the power of t u, which is given in terms of partial differentiation of RGB and their square with respect to x. The g by y, which is equal to v into v, which is given by v to the power of t of v. It is the partial differentiation of RGB by y. And g of xy, it is given by u into v, which is equal to u to the power of t v, which is equal to partial differentiation of r, g, b, x and y multiplied. So we have to remember that the r, g, b and consequently the small g's, they are all the functions of x and y. By making use of this notation, it can be shown that the direction of the maximum rate of the change, that is c of xy, is given by the angle theta of xy. This theta of xy, it belongs to 2g of xy, gxx and gyy. And that the value of the rate of change at xy in the direction of the theta of xy is given by the equation 679, which is the f theta of x comma y. We can see that the f theta of x comma y depends on gxx, gyy and also g of xy. Because the tan alpha is equal to tan alpha plus or minus pi, so if theta naught is a solution, then the theta naught plus or minus pi by 2. Furthermore, f of theta is equal to f theta plus pi, so f has to be computed only for the values of theta in the half open interval, that is from 0 to pi. So we are having two values, 90 degree, which is very far from this equation, which is associated with every point xy, that is a pair of orthogonal directions. Along one of those directions, f is maximum and it is minimum along the other. The derivation of these results is very lengthy and we can gain very little things from this current discussions. So one paper by one author D. Denso, it can be used for further details on this particular topic. The partial derivatives which are required for implementing all the equations of 675, 676 and 677, they can be computed, and by making use of the Sobel operations what we have discussed in the previous classes. That's all about color segmentation for today. We shall continue in the next class. Thank you very much.